What if the race for AI dominance isn't as one-sided as we thought? China is making huge progress in AI, and the gap between the US and China is shrinking faster than many expected. For years, it seemed like China was lagging behind. But recent advancements in AI models, some even outpacing OpenAI's, are changing that narrative. It's a bit shocking, right? As we dive into this new AI world, it's clear that the competition is rapidly growing. Curious to learn how China is challenging the world's AI leaders. Let's take a closer look at how these open source models are reshaping the game. Let's get started. Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, recently made some eye-opening comments about the current state of AI, specifically about China's rapid advancements. During a talk at Stanford, Schmidt shared that China now has two of the most powerful AI models ever created. And the surprising part is that these models are open source. He mentioned that one of these models is a problem solver, while the other is a large language model that competes with, and in some cases, even surpasses, Meta's Llama 300-400 billion. Schmidt was clearly shocked when he read about these developments, saying he had initially thought China was 2 to 3 years behind the US in AI. However, after seeing these new models, he believes the gap has closed to just 6 months to a year. The two models Schmidt is referring to include DeepSeek R1, which has already gone viral. With 2.8 million views, 3,000 retweets, and 4,000 likes, this model is China's response to OpenAI's 01. While no one expected a model like this from China, DeepSeek R1 has proven to be very similar to OpenAI's 01, and in some areas, it even outperforms it when benchmarked against each other. This indicates that China is not as far behind as people once thought. Schmidt's comments also highlight how fast AI is developing, with China seemingly able to deploy its models faster than companies like Google, Anthropic, and even OpenAI. This has raised eyebrows in the AI community, as the Chinese models are proving to be quite competitive on a global scale. The idea that China might be only a few months behind the US, rather than years, is a significant shift in the AI race. In short, Schmidt's remarks suggest that the gap between China and the US in AI is much smaller than previously thought. The new open source models from China, particularly DeepSeek R1, show that China is quickly catching up and in some areas is ahead of the curve. This is a big development in the world of AI, and it's likely to spark more competition and innovation in the field in the months to come. In addition, many people expected American companies to lead the way in AI development. But China's models have come out strong, and with them being open source, the AI race is more competitive than ever. One of the models Schmidt mentioned is Qwen 2.5, a popular choice for running models on personal computers. Qwen 2.5 comes from Alibaba's cloud, and it's an open source model with 72 billion parameters. It's not the biggest model out there, but it's really good at performing certain tasks. On the Compass Large Language Model leaderboard, Qwen 2.5 72B surpassed state-of-the-art models like CL 3.5 Sonnet and GPT 4.0. This is impressive, especially considering how quickly these models have been developing. Just a few months ago, OpenAI's 01 preview was considered groundbreaking, but now we see models from China outperforming it. What makes this even more interesting is that China is facing several restrictions on its AI development. Recently, TSMC, the world's largest contract chip maker, made headlines for suspending the production of advanced AI chips for China. TSMC produces a huge amount of the world's AI chips, including those for companies like NVIDIA. But with US restrictions on China's access to advanced processors, TSMC has stopped making chips at the most advanced process nodes, like 7 nanometers or smaller. They've also said that any future supplies of these chips to Chinese customers would require approval from the US government. Despite these challenges, China's AI development continues to impress. The fact that they're still able to create models like DeepSeek R1 and Qwen 2.5 and release them open source shows that China is closing the gap with the US much faster than many expected. This could lead to a more intense AI race in the coming years, with both countries pushing the boundaries of what's possible. This situation is pretty wild. TSMC, the world's largest contract chip maker, has been implementing strict export controls, but China isn't the only one facing these challenges. One model that's caught attention is called Ye Lightning, developed by Kaiyu Li and his team. Despite the restrictions, Li's company in China is pushing ahead in AI development, even though training these models used to cost billions of dollars. Lee explained that while other companies in the US are spending massive amounts of money, his team in China has managed to create competitive models with just $3 million. In comparison, training GPT-4 cost around $80 to $100 million, and rumors suggest GPT-5 might cost up to $1 billion. What makes Lee's story even more impressive is that his company, which has limited access to GPUs because of US regulations, is still moving forward. Chinese companies are valued much lower than American ones, so they have fewer resources to work with. With only 2,000 GPUs, Lee's team has had to get creative and figure out how to make the most out of their limited resources. They've learned to make training and inference faster and more efficient, which is something that's really caught the attention of the AI community. This is not just about individual companies, though. The US government is also paying close attention to the global AI race. Recently, Congress has been pushing for a Manhattan-style AGI, Artificial General Intelligence project, to ensure the US stays ahead of other countries, especially China, which is moving quickly in the field. With models like DeepSeek, which is now outpacing OpenAI's O1 preview, the race to develop the best AI is intensifying. China's ability to make such advancements despite facing strict restrictions shows that innovation can thrive even under tough circumstances. As the AI landscape shifts, it's clear that countries are gearing up for an intense competition in the coming years. A lot of people are wondering why some AI models are being released open source and what problems this could cause in the future. Experts have discussed the potential risks of open source AI, pointing out that while China may not be the issue, there are malicious actors who could misuse this technology. If future AI models perform as expected and ace the benchmarks, what could they be used for in the wrong hands? Eric Schmidt mentioned this concern, saying that it's not necessarily China's government that would misuse the technology, but rather groups with harmful intentions. These groups could easily take advantage of open source AI, and if they create their own servers on the dark web, they could spread these technologies further. This raises the question of what would happen if an AI model that took millions to develop is stolen and put on the dark web. Companies like Google, Microsoft, and OpenAI spend around $200 million to create these powerful models, and if a malicious actor manages to steal one, there's no clear way to deal with it. The risks of exfiltrating these models are huge, and there's currently no strategy in place for preventing or responding to this kind of theft. Coney, an expert in AI safety, also discussed the issue of open source AI. He compared it to nuclear weapons, saying that if anyone could build bigger bombs and own them, the world would eventually be in danger. This is why nuclear weapons are strictly controlled and not available for private ownership. Coney's point is that AI, especially powerful models, can pose a similar threat if they're open to everyone. While open source AI has its benefits, the reality is that some technologies may be too dangerous to release to the public. The speaker shared his experience with the open source community, which he once supported, but found that many in it didn't care about the consequences of their actions. When synthetic media generators and voice cloning software were first released, there was a debate about whether they should be open source. The idea that open source is always good doesn't always hold up, especially when it comes to tools that can be used for harm. This reflects a more realistic view of the dangers open source technology can bring if not properly controlled. Ultimately, China's progress in AI is really shaking things up in the tech world. Models like DeepSeek and Qwen 2.5 are now competing with, and sometimes even beating, the best AI from the US. Even with restrictions and fewer resources, China is closing the gap on the US way faster than anyone expected. This is a huge wake-up call for those who thought the AI race was already over. As innovation speeds up, it's clear that the competition is only going to get tougher. If you found this interesting, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more updates on how AI is changing the world.